Hi, my name's Kate Husher and I'm a menopause and second phase coach, author, speaker and activist. And today I want to talk to you about relationships at work. Now I don't mean those sort of intimate relationships. I mean the kind of relationships that make it a nice place to work. The relationships like friendships, also supportive relationships like mentors, sponsors, managers, peers, your team, all of those sorts of things. Now, I had to say at the beginning there, not intimate relationships, because whenever we think of the word relationships, we often think of those types of relationships. Now, we don't give the other types of relationships enough airtime. And these relationships are so critical. They are absolutely critical to our success. Now, you might say, what's that got to do with menopause? Well, it's got everything to do with menopause. And the reason for that is that once you enter into menopause, if you are having difficult symptoms, and bearing in mind that's over 3/4 of women will be having symptoms, some of which, just over a quarter of women, they will be very extreme indeed. For those women who are having symptoms at work, it can definitely affect the way that you do your job or the way that you show up to work every day. Now that can mean show up in the sense of showing up in the office, and in these distributed working times, it could also mean how you show up on Zoom or any other platform for that matter, how you write your emails, all those other things. You know, if you use any of the other sort of intranet type things like Slack or various other systems, it's how you talk to people on there too. And they will become increasingly important in maintaining relationships in the working environment. So back to the menopause. It affects the way that you show up, but it also, by its very nature, affects the way that people view you, how they think about you, how they think or judge you for your behaviour. Now, we have an expectation of how people should be at work. And if you suddenly change or you dip below that, people can change their opinion of you. And at that point, it becomes really, really important for you to be vulnerable and to share what's going on for you. Because without explanation, people make up the space in between. They say, you used to be like that, you're like this now. What could be the reason for that? And they make various assumptions based on their own belief system, but based on their own life. So and that also means that you are then subject to rumour, and that's never, ever a good place to be. So you want to be out there ahead of that conversation saying, this is what's going on for me. This is why I'm like this. This is the area that I need your support. This is how I need some help. And as much as that is tricky, it is a much better situation than your professional reputation being damaged in any way by your symptoms. So it's really important that you keep the bond in those relationships strong. Now, equally, you might say, of course there will be, and what does it matter anyway if I lose a couple of people who think that I am a great person at work? Well, most of us don't tend to think that, but when we're in the depths of it, sometimes we do. So People Matters published some research last year and from American Express, and American Express asked women if they felt that they could get to the C-suite. Now, 32% of women said that they could. And that's only a third. That's very low indeed. However, of the respondents who had a mentor, that went up to 49%. And for those who had a sponsor, that went up to a massive 62%. That is how powerful relationships are in your working life. They can make or break your career in the sense that they allow you to reach your potential, or you will be fighting against it all the way. Now, I'm not saying you won't make it anyway, I'm saying you probably may, but it will make life a whole lot more easy and smooth if you do maintain those relationships. So obviously, first of all, it's about establishing those relationships, then it's about nurturing those relationships, and then it's about keeping them going at optimum level, in good health, in an environment which maintains you and your career. It will be transactional in the sense that you will need to speak to them and they will need to speak to you. You need to share your ideas about things as they do too, and you need to be open to those conversations. And during your menopause, that might make things difficult, more difficult than it would ordinarily. But you need to get out there, have those conversations, and be part of those relationships. Be prepared to be vulnerable, be prepared to be honest, and be prepared to get the work in. Because during your menopause, you absolutely have to recognize that this is a negotiation right the way through. So in your dark times, you need more support. In the times that aren't so bad, you really have to crack on. By the same token, when you get to the other side of this, and you will, when you get to the other side of this, you will be more powerful than you have ever been. I've spoken to a lot of women recently, and they all say, my God, the freedom and the power that I feel now is way in excess of everything that I ever thought was possible. And that's what awaits you on the other side when your hormones have subsided and you are back to your pre-pubescent levels of your hormones. So that strength is awaiting you, but you just got to get through this transitionary phase first. So recognize the importance of your relationships, recognize it's a negotiation, establish, nurture, and continue to do so all the way through. They will pay you back in spades. Keep looking after those relationships, keep talking, keep nurturing, and you will be able to achieve your full potential. And if you do have an eye on the C-suite, then keep your eye on the C-suite, because at the other end of this, you're going to be absolutely amazing. Watch my next video or watch the ones before, subscribe and enjoy.